Okay. Good morning. We're good, gentlemen. Chodesh Tov.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Okay. Gidok. So this week we'll learn at 4:30 or 9:30 New York time. Then I think we'll need to adjust it a bit for myself. So I'm still teaching. So 4:30, 9:30 is fine this week. Yeah. Okay. So there are a number of pieces here that I want to cover. We'll see how much we can do today, and then we'll move along. Okay, the piece today is on Beit Knesset. I think they started opening them up in America, so I think it's something to appreciate a little bit of what we gain by davening in a Beit Knesset. He discusses it. So he says, mitzvahs hashkamas Beit Knesset, coming early to shul. Right, like we say every morning, right after Birkas HaTorah. Right? Hashkamas Beis HaMedrash Shachvis V'Arvis, coming to the Beis Knesset in the morning and in the evening. These are some of the things that you gain in this world and in the next world as well. It said in the Gemara in Brachos, Dahainu, Dahani Luhu Lebnei Bavel. The Gemara asks a very interesting shaila over there. What is it, in what schus do the Jews in Bavel live a long life? The Gemara says, Dahani Luhu Lebnei Bavel Lemehavi Sabi, that they should live a long life. Ugedahamar Luhu Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. Right, it was coming to the shul early. This was the schus that gave the Jews in Chutz La'aretz the merit to live a long life. And like Yeshua ben Levi told his children, Kidmu, get up early, v'chashichu, and stay late, l'beit kanishti ki chaychi do tarichu chayhi, that you'll live a long life. V'hamagdim lios me'asar rishonim, if someone can push himself and can make it so that he should be from the first 10, no till schar keneged kol haboim. He gets schar equal to all those that come. Ubifrat, and specifically, hamagdim lios rishon, if someone could actually be number 1, hiflig ma'od bezorah kodesh. The Zohar goes to great lengths to tell me b'shivcha how enormous the merit is for someone to even be number 1.
How do you have mitzvah d'Rabbanan schar keneged kulam?
No. It means for all those that show up to the shul. It's not like Talmud Torah's connected all the other mitzvahs. He's saying, if you're from the first 10, you get the schar equal to all of those that came to the Beit Knesset as well.
But those are the rice. Torah is the rice.
No. He's pointing out that if there are 100 people that show up to shul, you're getting the schus that for them as well.
But
for all the people.
Okay, it's even though it's not mitzvah daraisa.
No, the one that do with the other. Yeah. No, again, he's saying about in the mitzvah of coming to the Beit Knesset. In the mitzvah of coming to the Beit Knesset, you get schar. Connected all of those that come to the Beit Knesset afterwards. You're getting that schar equal to all of them. Whatever they're getting, you're getting equal to all of that. And they're coming to the Beit Knesset, not in other mitzvahs. Right, that's what it brings down. And if you're number 1, the Zohar says then the schus you get is enormous. It goes so far, the koi bedarga de tzaddik, he says you are considered a tzaddik in Shemayim. And he continues over and he says, V'utikin gadol l'pekama bris. It's a very important way to be masakein any damage one can do to the bris. V'nasareye, you're becoming what should I say? A raya is like a companion. V'ahu, and a beloved one. Richma de kutchabricha of Hashem. So he continues. He says, "Mishama ke'ela." Who heard such compliments on such a level? Again, if the Zohar is using such terminology about someone, he's saying obviously they're very, very careful with words. In other words, it's not like today where you use words and you just use them very easily when you describe people or things. He says that's not, they don't use hyperbole in the Zohar and Chazal. If they're saying something, then they're being very specific about it. So he's saying if you're number one, if you can be the first one in shul, that the merit is enormous, and that's to be taken very, very seriously. Right? So it says, Mi Shama Kela, who ever heard such an enormous praise of someone? Below Yishtadil B'Kol Kocha, and someone wouldn't make efforts, Leos Rishon, to try to be number one, at least at some time. Or Lefachot, Me'asar Rishon, most certainly to try to be from the first 10. Lasos Nachas Ruach Leyotzro, Hamashalem Schar Tov Laosi Ritzono. Hashem pays good. Now, again, I can't, one second, I can't answer your question if someone's going to ask me, well, should I go to a later minyan now, so therefore I could be from the first 10 rather than daven in an earlier minyan where I usually go, and I'm not necessarily that way. Again, I have heard of individuals that of such an idea. In other words, if they won't be from the first 10, they'll go to the next minyan, so they could be from the first 10. They try to work with this statement. Again, everything has to be taken into account. In other words, we know of certain Anoshim who were Anoshim Gedolim, and they didn't necessarily daven Vasikin, even though they could very well have. But they were up at 2:30 in the morning anyway. But they had their schedule and whatever it was. In other words, every mitzvah has to be understood in the greater picture as well. So obviously, even though this is an enormous mitzvah, like many, but nevertheless, it has to be taken into the bigger picture as well to see how it fits into your routine, etc. But if it's possible, one should certainly try to take advantage of it.
What about the concept of not doing a mitzvah for the purpose of getting the schar?
Okay, but we do. We have a concept of mitok shelo lishma bo lishma. In other words, right? It's certainly a big kiddush Hashem to try to be there for the minyan. But if that's acting as an incentive, that's certainly a positive thing.
Right.
Now, the Gemara is definitely telling me we should do things. There's a very nice idea from Reb Chaim Volozhin, and he talks about this idea of mitok shelo lishma bo lishma. He says Chazal tell you that is the process. In other words, we're not supposed to skip that process. In other words, that is the first step. We're supposed to do things shelo lishma, because that's what's going to first get you into the mitzvah to begin with. Once you're there, so then you obviously you raise your sophistication. When children are young, then the mitzvah is definitely to give them prizes and what other incentives, whatever it is, to get them to enjoy the mitzvahs. That is step number one, and it's very important to not skip it. He points out it's a very important.
Just wanted to go back to the old question.
Yeah.
Torah tells us what the mitzvahs are. The Torah does not say mitzvah of shul or basic Knesset in order to have a segula for Richas Yamim like in Bavel. Besides the going,
Chazal telling us this. So obviously they know.
So he's saying Atzapi Kabbalah and this sort of things. It's not a mitzvah I could find somewhere in Chumash or Remes to it.
Again,
it's after.
The Gemara brings down. It's a Gemara. Yeah, if Chazal are telling, Yeshua ben Levi is telling us this. Sure. If Chazal are telling me this and they have a tradition, they understood that this was the case. Yeah.
So if I could daven v'sikin by myself at home with much better kavana for half an hour Shemana Esrei without any disturbing me, that would be a better thing for me and for my avoider, right?
Rather than being with a minion, again, so again, you have to. You need to speak to a Noshim Gedolim. A person needs to speak to his Rav to get because again, these things have to be weighed out. Davening with a minion is a very important thing, So to miss minion, to daven vasikin is there are definitely situations where you need to do that, but to do it as a regular thing, you need to speak to someone who could give you. Sometimes we don't necessarily see the outcomes of things we do. In other words, we do things now, but we don't realize the repercussions and how it leads, long term. So it's not, you have to know. Rav Sternberg always davened vasikin, but he always came to minyan afterwards. He never missed the minyan. In other words, So you have to know.
So you don't be yechidus.
He did. That's correct, because there was no minyan for Vasikin. That's correct. No, well, again, yeah. And then he would daven B'tzibor afterwards. Right, correct. He would daven B'tzibor afterwards. He'd do the Chazoras Hashatz. He would do the Chazoras Hashatz, and that was, that was his Tefillah B'tzibor, his being the Shliach Tzibor afterwards. That also has a concept of Tefillah B'tzibor as well.
So, Rabbi, you can do that. You can daven at home and then technically go to shul and just listen. And
Well,
then
again, that doesn't make it Tefillah B'tzibor. No, again, can you again? It's always advised to daven with a minyan, your Shemona Esrei. That's a very important thing, because again, the Gemara brings down that the tefillah of a group of 10 is not rejected. Of an individual, his tefillah is definitely going to be very much scrutinized. The question is that's being asked sometimes is davening Vasikin is a very special opportunity. To do that versus davening with a minyan. So certainly if a person davens Vasikin on a regular basis with a minyan, and then there's a situation where that's not happening, then for sure they can daven by themselves their Vasikin and then go afterwards to the Beis Knesses, to hear the repetition of whatever reason. But to do it on a general basis, again, that's something that needs to be thought out. But yeah. But to daven in general by yourself and then here, no, that should not be. That should not be. If it's not Vasikin and some person just wants to daven by himself and then go to minyan, davening with a minyan is a very, very chashuv thing. Because again, we have a haftacha that Hashem accepts the tefillah of a tzibur, whereas by an individual, that tefillah is very much scrutinized, and I know I can't afford it, but whatever. Okay, but he's discussing over here now the idea of being from the first 10. So again, I know of people that if they can't be from the first 10 in the minyan that they planned on, so then they'll wait to the next minyan. So they will be from the first 10 because of this haftacha over here. Now he continues over here. V'yesh Rabim, there are many people, he says, Shaboim b'hashkam. I don't know how prevalent this is anymore. But anyway, I can hear it though. You can imagine in certain shuls. V'yesh Rabim Shaboim b'hashkam. There are people that come early to minyan, to Beis Knesset. They could be from the first 10 of the daveners. What do? They rather choose to stay in the coffee room, in the tea room. Bezos, which is outside the Beis Knesset. Laharbos basicha, to have coffee and tea and orange juice, whatever else it may be, and to have conversations with people there. But also, besides the other problems that involves, he's just pointing out over here, they're leaving to others this enormous treasure. Those that they could have been from the first 10 in the Beis Knesset, and they instead decided to stay outside in the out in the hallway just by the coffee room. They're giving over that treasure to others. Vein sam alev, they're not thinking. Vein makpid, they're not being careful. That somebody else might get in first. The fishain yodib, they don't realize ma mitzvah hazos, how much of a mitzvah this is. V'yesh osim be'ezrus beis knesses, and there are those, he says, who make in the hallways of the Beit Knesset, bote knesiot shel amei ha'oretz. They're turning that into a Beit Knesset v'amaratzim. V'yoshu sham, and they're sitting there on Shabbos and on Chagim, ad shegiya shliach tzibur lebar, until the shliach tzibur gets up to Baruch Shama. They're not kabbanos and brachos. That's not so important to them, so they'll stay outside. Then they'll walk into the Beis Knesset, and then they'll start davening bedilu. They'll jump around, or they'll daven by themselves. Says oy lahem. He says, woe to such people. Shagomlu ra lenafshim, how they're doing themselves a very big disservice. V'ra umar ozvam es Hashem, and they're doing a terrible thing by leaving behind Hashem. If you have the ability to speak up, you should speak, you should say something. Those who have yiras hashmayim, lo yeshiv, they'll avoid this. It's brought down in the name of the Ari, how far it went. He he in general, the Ari, was not from the first 10. You hear? Lefi shahaya b'nei Adam, shahaya magdimim kodem alos hashachar, because again, there were people. The Ari was there, by alos hashachar. Alos hashachar is daybreak, which is 72 minutes even before sunrise. So he's saying there were people there that would get to the Beit Knesset even earlier than alos hashachar. And for who? But he, the Ari, hayarotze leilach lebeis Knesset meutiv betzitzis umuchtar betfilin. Right. This is another value. This is another idea that the Ari brings down based on the Kabbalah, that one should try to make efforts. I'm sure you're familiar with this. I don't know if in America it's not so common, but in Eretz Yisrael, certainly in the religious neighborhoods, you definitely see people who leave their homes wearing the talis and their tefillin on before they go to the Beis Knesset. So he was makpid about that, so therefore he couldn't put on his tefillin or his talis so early, so therefore he wasn't able to do that. It's not like he slept in late, chas v'shalom, it's just that other people were there early, and he was very careful about not leaving his house to go to the Beis Knesset before he had his talis and tefillin on, and you can't put it on too early, because then there's no mitzvah. So he says, shehiflid ma'od b'zohar. Again, this is another value in the Zohar, that it's crucial, right? B'zohar Kadosh b'shevach, to how it speaks about hamagia. If someone reaches laholech mi beis, if someone leaves his house, the Beis Knesset is mutav b'tzitzis u'muchtar b'tfilin. The machris kamei. What does it say in the Zohar? Havo yekar, come this precious one, l'diyuknei de malka. Right? Give honor to the one that has the appearance of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Yeah, that. So these are different values out there. Now again, the Ramah brings down in the Shulchan Aruch that if one cannot leave his house with the talis and tefillin on, then one should try to put it on outside. There are the people that do that. Others that don't. But there are ideas about putting it out right outside the Beit Knesset itself. They have like tables or whatever people do, this, just to walk into the Beis Knesset with the talis and tefillin on. That's what the Ramah brings down. Because in Chutz La'aretz it was not simple at all, for halachic reasons and besides for other reasons. Kol Kabel Dina, on the opposite, Hanichnas the base of the Lo Tefillin, V'Omer he says, Eshtachav el Heichel Kadshecha B'Yirasecha. This is what they bring down from the other side in the Zohar. If somebody walks in to a Beis Knesset without tefillin on, and he says that I am prostrating myself to the palace of Hashem in awe of you, he says, Kud Shabricha Omer Anhu Mo, where's my fear? Where do you have my awe upon me? In other words, just like a person is not supposed to wear tefillin, let's say Kriya Shema without tefillin on, because says you're giving Eda Sheker. So he said, in other words, it brings down that the nations of the world, V'yiro Amei Haaretz, got the pasuk, V'yirumi Mecca, they'll be frightened of you. And the Gemara brings down, what do you mean they'll be frightened of you? Because they'll see the tefillin on you. The tefillin bring on a certain awe. So he's saying over here, if a person walks into a Beit Knesset, this is what it says in the Zohar, and you don't have your tefillin on, where's your awe over here? You're lacking it. Could you bring Anhu, where's my awe? Hasad Satuli, he's giving false testimony. I am Bezorah Kadosh Pashas, where there's all brought in the Zohar and Pashas Veschanim, he quotes. So far we're going to using many very different and important ideas that we bear in mind. We should know that these are things out there. And if a person wants to know if he should incorporate these things into his Avodas Hashem, so he should discuss it with his Rav. So he continues here. He says, Kikain Ashri Enosh Yasozos. Says how much of again, he's trying to, I mentioned this idea, how fortunate a person would be, Lotzes min abayis, be able to leave his house, mutav betzitzis, umuchtar betfilin. Again, it has to be a person that's, well, in other words, when one's wearing tefillin, one needs to be very careful when wears tefillin. These are things that a person needs to be very focused on. You're not supposed to you're not supposed to be daydreaming things like that. That's why, I think, again, that's why it's always important when you hear these ideas. They're beautiful things and they're very delicate ideas, and ideas of ruchnias. But I have to know, am I holding by that where it will help enhance my ruchnias, and I won't be abusing things and doing things that I'm not really ready yet to be able to maintain such a level of spirituality in that respect. So I need to know this, because again, Rana, people used to, as we well know, people used to wear tefillin all day. They've only gone more tefillin all day. There are people today who wear it, but it needs an enormous amount of self-discipline and focus, because wearing tefillin is a very, very special gift that Hashem gave us, but I can't misuse it. I have to be careful with that. So I'm going to do that also when I leave my house and things like that. I have to, I have to, have to be careful about that, and I should know that. Again, the person has to be careful, like we just said, not to put tefillin on too early. Certainly in the winter time, the moon is out and it looks like the summer, etc. He brings it down, like the Ramah says. At least if one doesn't do it when one leaves one house, try to put it on right outside the Beit Knesset. If he's far from the Beit, he's bringing down over here. Person shouldn't give him the impression I'm such a holy person. In other words, we do care what people think. In other words, I can't say who cares what the neighbors think. If they're going to think that I'm trying to show off over here. It depends. Again, the Mesilas Shem says when it comes to Avodas Hashem, I have to be very strong about it. And if they're going to laugh at me, so then in certain situations I have to say, well, that's their problem, and it's something that I need to do for my Avodas Hashem. But in other areas, I have to take it into account. Well, you punish the basic, but don't try to do that. Now, he continues. Before somebody walks into a Beit Knesset, so little reshus, we need to ask permission to come in. This is not, it's like somebody doesn't barge into somebody else's house. You're not going to ask permission. You don't just walk in uninvited. So we have to, live with a certain mindset over here also when it comes to Beit Knesset. So little reshus, we should ask permission to come in. Out of your kindness, Hashem. Lokamo Rabim Shein Yodim, people are not aware. Va'omri Moso, after they're already in. No, you're supposed to say before you walk in. Right? We say that pasuk before we walk in. Eliyishal Pesach, you should wait a moment by the entrance. Kamishachoridli Kanes, to give the mindset that I'm afraid to walk in. The base, I'm coming into the house of the king. Ram Vanisa, I even know how awesome it is. V'yitel reshus, and to ask permission by Mir's pasuk v'ani barov chazdecha. V'gam la pasuk zeh, and even this pasuk tzorosh yakdim lomer berchas hashachar. You need to be able to say berchas hashachar. Shim lo amar, because you didn't say berchas haTorah. Yesh mi shomer she, you can't say that pasuk because it's a pasuk in Tehillim. How can I do that? But Sorach Lashano, so Lomi, you have to say Vani Barov Chazdo. You'd have to change it. If you didn't say Birkas HaTorah, so then you won't be able to say that pasuk. So he's saying you'd have to say it in a different form. You'd have to say, because of Hashem's kindness, Avo Beiso, I'm coming into His house. Eshtachav El Heichel Kadsho, I'm prostrating myself in His holy abode, in His awe. Umatov, you would have to change some of the words, not yours, but His. And how nice that idea it is. He said that they made a box for the poor people in the city. Also, they put it in right by the doorway to the Beit Knesset. The pushka. But also they put it like a little hole in the doorway of the Beit Knesset. Should give something to tzedakah. In other words, everybody should give a certain amount. He wants to say, it's a nice idea. What's it based on? Because it says in the pasuk, it says, "Va'ani b'tzedek." I, through tzedakah, I'm able to see your face. That's why it's brought down. Also, it's certain, before Shabbat, before you daven Shemon Esrei, people give this. But he's saying that this is an appropriate kind of a thing. Even just the minute you walk in, just even put in like a nickel or something. He says this is a very important thing, and it's very, very important. It helps in many ways. Okay, and he says that he personally does that. Okay, 1 second. It's a longer piece over here. Okay, 1 second. He continues. We have another minute or two, so we'll start and then we'll continue tomorrow on the rest of this. Hashem is looking for our kavanah, our feelings. A person needs to have a certain awe. we have to realize that the Beit Knesset. Now, again, we want to feel comfortable in a Beit Knesset. You always get these different emotions. In other words, we do need to know that, again, for being too familiar with something, you let down, you have a certain, let me put it this way. In other words, like for example, like your experience with your Rebbeim in the yeshiva, right? The Rebbeim do not stand on honors. And therefore, there's a certain closeness and a certain, bonding like that. But again, it's important for each person to appreciate who the other person really is. In other words, even if that person is not necessarily standing on honor, on position, but I mentally need to know that I need to do that for myself. So he's saying in a similar way, like when we come to a Beit Knesset, I have to realize that this is the palace of Hashem. And I have to treat it in such a way. As I should feel comfortable there, I have to feel at home there, but I also have to know that this idea over here, I'm sitting in the palace of Hashem, and that demands a certain behavior. And those I want to feel comfortable, I want to be with my family there, but I do need to know that this is Hashem's palace over here, and to conduct myself accordingly. Right, kli mali, but with embarrassment. You should have that when I come in there, I'm coming into your house, Hashem. I should appreciate that. Really, I'm not worthy to walk into the king's palace. Only because of Hashem's enormous kindness, because of the schus of the avos, I'm able to come in over here. All right, let's finish up over because he says this idea. He said, Chesed, he says, is referring to Avraham Avinu. Because of the schus of Avraham Avinu, Hashem, who is the Isha Chesed, you're allowing me to come into your holy abode. Kodshecha, he wants to say it right, Barov Chazdecha, he says that's Kodshecha is a reference to Yitzchak, Shinas Kadesha, who made himself Kadosh on the Mizbeach, and Be'ira Secha, he says, is a hint to Yaakov Avinu, who said, Manora HaMokam Hazeh. Because of their schus, we are relying on likanes lamokam hakodesh. Very beautiful idea. I wasn't aware of that. So he's saying, right? Chesed is Avram, Kodesh is Yitzchak, and Yira is referring to Yaakov. And their schus, I am being given permission to be able to walk into Hashem's abode. Okay, excellent, beautiful. We'll continue Mitzvah Hashem tomorrow with the piece.
Good.
Are there any questions?
I just saw Chuvas Rashba. She says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu nichnas basic knesses ve'enem motza sora miyad koyas.
Right.
So
it's a Gemara, right?
So the fact is that you coming in first Rishonim, you create shalom bayis between Klal Yisrael or this minyan neighbors. That's why I guess the Indian of being first in the basic knesses, you take away the kas ki kaviyochel from Hashem. So that's why it's a mitzvah, even though it's mitzvah derabanan to daven the minyan. The I guess api Kabbalah, api all the Nestorim, if you could make Hashem koyas less.
Very nice.
Beneficial.
Okay, very nice. Okay, good. Beautiful, right? Very nice. Good. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, beautiful. Okay, any other questions, gentlemen, or we'll adjourn till tomorrow?
Rabbi,
Yes, Mayor. What?
I had a question. So actually, two questions. One is, if, like, I live in a neighborhood where it's okay to wear tefillin outside. I know the halacha is if you live in a neighborhood where you're allowed to wear, there's not a lot of goyim around, you should put on tefillin and you should walk into you should go from your house to the shul. If it requires going in a car, does that change anything, or is it no? Just put on tefillin, go into the car, drive to the shul, and go out. It should make a difference.
Yeah, of course. People in here Israel do that all the time, right? Sure.
So that's one. And then now we still in my neighborhood, we're still doing outdoor minyanim. Saying the pasuk going into a shul.
I don't know that applies over here, right? Of course not. It's not a shul. Correct. You're right.
So we would.
It's an interesting question. I would assume that it's not. It's not a Beit Knesset.
Or it does when you have 10 people. It creates some sort of.
It brings that again. You have it, but it doesn't have that. No, there's again. These are some of the things that we have to appreciate. We don't have. We're not in the Heichal Hashem. The
Mhm.
Shekhinah is there. The Shekhinah is there, but it's not the Heichal Hashem. You're right.
It's a different level.
It's on a different level. Sure. Yeah. Isn't it? Yeah, I would think so. Yeah. I mean, but you can check it out. Check it out. But yeah, I hear.
One last thing, because I know Rabbi knows Shemona Esrei very well. I
Not
was
really.
Kitzer last night. I was learning Kitzer, and it was talking about going into Shemona Esrei and the type of mindset that you have to have when you're going into Shemona Esrei. And it was talking about like how realize that you're going in front of Hashem and to like clear your mind, also all the phlegm and the spit to make sure that you're clean going into Shemona Esrei. What I find myself when I go into Shemona Esrei, a lot of my thoughts pop into my mind, right? Like all the things that I don't want to pop in my
Yeah,
mind.
of course. Well, that's the Yetzer Hara, of course. It happens to me all the time.
But when it says to clear your thoughts, does it really mean like don't even think about the things that you necessarily need and just be in awe of the presence of being in front of Hashem, and then come to the ultimate conclusion afterwards, realizing like Hashem really provides for me. I don't really have to ask for anything.
Again, those ideas one needs to think about in the particular bracha. That would, if you have specific things that you wish to ask for, so when you come to that particular bracha, so then that's the time and the place for that. But when you're first walking in there, you first need to focus, and then I'm standing before the Creator, right? Yeah. And then when you get to those ideas in the Shemona Esrei, then you'll mention them.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Shikaya.
Okay, pleasure. Okay, have a great day, boys. Take care. Hashem tomorrow.